The urgency of climate action. Time is running out. Johan Rockström's TED Talk, The Tipping Points of Climate Change and Where We Stand, underscores the rapidly closing window for meaningful climate action. With ecosystems around the globe nearing critical tipping points, humanity's ability to prevent irreversible damage is increasingly limited. The Spaceship Earth Fund, or SEF, is at the forefront of efforts to address this challenge, investing in solutions that scale to meet the urgency of the climate crisis. Introduction: the need for immediate climate action. The science is clear. The longer we delay climate action, the harder and more expensive it will be to fix the damage. Johan Rockström emphasizes that we are on the verge of losing control of our climate. The impacts of global warming, rising sea levels, extreme weather events, biodiversity loss, and ecosystem collapse are no longer hypothetical scenarios. They are already happening, and without urgent intervention, we risk triggering a cascade of tipping points that will make much of the Earth uninhabitable for future generations. Scientific evidence of accelerating climate change. One of the most alarming aspects of Rockström's talk is how quickly climate change is accelerating. The 1.5 degree limit agreed upon in the Paris Agreement is now in serious jeopardy. Current global policies have us on track for 2.7 Celsius of warming by the end of the century, which would be catastrophic. The consequences of exceeding these thresholds are grave. For example, Rockström points to the loss of Arctic sea ice, which is occurring faster than most climate models predicted. The Arctic is warming at least twice as fast as the global average. This accelerated melting creates a feedback loop. Less ice means less sunlight is reflected back into space, which leads to more warming and faster ice melt. This alone could contribute to dramatic sea level rise, displacing millions of people and submerging coastal cities worldwide. The costs of inaction. The economic and social costs of inaction are staggering. A recent study published in Nature Communications estimated that failing to meet climate targets could cost the global economy upwards of $600 trillion by the end of this century. From mass migrations driven by rising sea levels to food and water shortages caused by droughts, the humanitarian toll of unchecked climate change is profound. Rockström highlights how many of these effects are already being felt in vulnerable regions, making it all the more urgent for wealthier nations and organizations to step up their contributions to the fight against climate change. SEF's role in urgent climate action. The Spaceship Earth Fund, or SEF, recognizes the gravity of the situation and is taking immediate steps to combat climate change. SEF is working on several fronts to ensure we can meet climate targets, including funding renewable energy projects. SEF is channeling investments into cutting-edge renewable energy technologies such as solar, wind, and geothermal to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, doubling the share of renewable energy could provide about half of the emission reductions needed to meet the Paris Agreement goals by 2030. Carbon capture and storage. SEF is investing in carbon capture and storage, CCS technologies that remove CO2 from the atmosphere and safely store it underground or use it in industrial processes. This is a critical technology for reaching net zero emissions. Advocating for policy change. SEF actively engages with policymakers to push for stronger climate regulations. This includes carbon pricing, reducing fossil fuel subsidies, and enforcing stricter emissions standards for industries. Why we must act now. Delaying action only increases the cost, both economically and environmentally. Rockström emphasizes that the sooner we act, the more manageable the transition to a sustainable future will be. Every fraction of a degree we prevent in global temperature rise matters. According to recent studies, limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to 2 degrees Celsius could save hundreds of millions of people from extreme heat, drought, and poverty. We must transition to a net zero economy by mid-century, which will require a massive transformation of our energy, agriculture, and industrial sectors. SEF is committed to accelerating this transition by supporting innovations that promote sustainability, efficiency, and resilience. Call to action. What can you do? Everyone has a role to play in the fight against climate change. Here are a few ways you can contribute today. 1. Reduce your carbon footprint. Switch to renewable energy where possible. minimize air travel, and adopt more sustainable consumption habits. 2. Support climate initiatives. Donate to organizations like SEF that are on the front lines of climate action, investing in solutions that make a difference. 3. Advocate for stronger climate policies. Reach out to your local representatives and urge them to prioritize climate action. The time for half measures has passed. We need bold, decisive policies that put the planet first. The time for action is now. We can no longer afford to wait. SEF invites you to join us in the urgent fight to mitigate climate change and protect the future of our planet.